Welcome parent and family members to the Navigating Uncharted Waters video. This is the second video, Rough Seas. My name is Carter Fenwick and I'm the Associate Director of Parent and Family Programs.
Hello, I'm Valerie Kistler-Van Reed, Director of the Center for Counseling and Student Development.
Hi, I'm Lauren Thorne. I am one of the Associate Deans in the Dean of Students Office.
And good morning, my name is Stephen Gray and I'm the Director for Disability Support Services.
So in this video, we're going to talk about conversations that you might have with your student. We're going to listen to a couple of phone calls. So this first phone call is just a phone call that you might get from your student about adjusting to campus.
Hello?
Hi, Mom.
Oh, honey, what's wrong? Are you crying?
Mom, I just don't know if I can do this anymore. Nothing here feels like home.
Oh, honey, don't cry. We're just an hour away. Why doesn't it feel like home?
It's just so different. I have to share a bathroom with other girls. The food isn't like yours. And the bed doesn't feel like mine. My roommate and I just don't seem to have a lot in common. Everything's just so different.
I thought you liked your roommate.
I mean, I do. She's nice. But, we just have different interests. I thought we'd be like best friends like you see in the movies. But she just does different things. She's not like my friends I have at home. I just feel like I'm in a whole different world since college started. And it's so hard to figure out how to study for my classes. You know that I really didn't have to study much in high school.
Well, college is different from high school. But remember that tutoring place we heard about at orientation? What was the name of that again? Maybe they could give you some tips.
You mean the Pirate Academic Success Center? But that's not what I mean. It just feels really hard, and I wonder if I'll be able to make this all work and be successful. I just don't know what to do.
Okay, the mother in this call does a really nice job of supporting her daughter and normalizing the struggles that she has with adjusting to college. You'll hear she doesn't talk about rescuing her or talk about having her come home. And that's really important because you want to challenge your child to really push themselves to adjust to this period and problem solve their way through it. And while the daughter's talking about her academic difficulties, she also mentions that she's worried she won't be successful. This is a real opportunity to have a conversation about what success means to your child and make sure that the two of you are on the same page. We know students really don't want to let their families down, but sometimes they have way too high expectations for themselves or think that you do. So by having a conversation about what success means or what you're looking for, it can help relieve some of that pressure so your child isn't trying to get straight A's when you only expect them to just do their best.
That's right, homesickness is very normal, and so like Valerie said, just sending your student home for the weekend is not a long-term solution. So encourage your student to meet other students, go to campus activities and get involved so that way they can build a community here and that ECU will feel like home for them.
Okay, we're going to change gears a little bit, and in this second call we're going to hear from a student who's calling a family member to express concern about one of his friends.
Hello?
Hey, Aunt Susie.
Oh, hey, honey. It's good to hear your voice. We really miss you, but, is everything okay?
Not really. It's Nick. Again. I just don't know what to do.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry, sweetie. Well, tell me what's going on now, and I'll see if I can help.
Okay. I really don't even know where to begin, honestly. He's not one of my closest friends, but I feel like something's wrong. He hardly ever leaves his room, and I think he's been missing his classes. One of my other friends said he hadn't seen Nick in English class for weeks.
Now, that doesn't sound too good. Have you tried to talk to him?
Kind of, but I really don't know how. I text him and I ask him to do stuff, but he either doesn't reply or says no. And I picked up a flyer for the counseling center and took it to him. I told him where it was, and it was free. I even said it was cool, and I asked him if he wanted to check it out with me. But I guess he wasn't interested.
Well, I want you to know I'm very proud of you for doing that. Maybe he's just private or needs more encouragement to do things with the rest of the group.
Well, Aunt Susie, there's another thing. I I think he's been drinking a lot more than he used to. I'm really worried that he might be depressed or something and needs help. What do I do?
Okay, in this call, Aunt Susie does a really nice job of very directly telling her nephew how proud she is of him for trying to help his friend. What is clear is that the student is really worried about his friend and has been for a long time. So this is an opportunity as a family member to jump in and talk about what healthy boundaries are. We know sometimes students get so wrapped up or so concerned about their friends that they may actually try to monitor their drinking, try to help them get up for class, or even try to take means to help keep them safe. And so what becomes really important is helping the student figure out where those boundaries are of how much he can help and how much is overstepping. So one of the things that she could recommend is that he talk to a trusted faculty or staff member about the situation, or he could make an anonymous report to ECU Cares. ECU Cares is a reporting option through the Dean of Students office. And when that report comes in, the Dean of Students staff will reach out to the student, let them know that somebody on campus is really worried about them, about how they're doing, and connect them to resources such as financial resources, counseling, student health, and other offices that are available on campus. So this allows the student to rest assured that his friend will get some help and allow him to refocus his time and energy on his own well-being.
One of the other resources that the Dean of Students Office will often refer to is campus living, and we're really appreciative of our resident coordinators who live in each of the residence halls. These are master's level professionals who live right there in the residence halls with our students. They help provide some structure, some oversight and guidance, and they often can be a great point of contact, especially if you're looking for someone who can immediately be able to, touch base with a student or at least kind of keep an eye on them in a way that's non-intimidating or non-threatening and doesn't make the student feel like they're getting singled out. And so that's a great resource to tap into. You will likely meet these resident coordinators at move-in, and a good point of contact to keep throughout the year.
Also, and don't forget, each of the residence halls has resident assistants, so the RAs are on all floors, and they'll be the contact person directly with your son or daughter. So that's a great resource on a day-to-day basis, night-to-night basis, because they're pretty much staffed all the time. So have your son or daughter make sure they get to know their RA. I think that's a real critical resource.
And we know that the first two phone calls that we went over may have been a little concerning, alarming. There are certainly phone calls you hope that you don't have to receive or deal with. They can be challenging when they do come in. And we don't want you to be worried as parents. We want to equip you with the resources to know how to handle them. But realistically, we know that the majority of the phone calls that you get from your students are probably going to sound like this one.
Hello?
Hey, Mom.
Hey, honey. How's my girl doing today?
Great. Sorry I missed your call earlier. I was at dinner with people from my floor.
Nice. You're doing okay then?
Yeah, everything has been great. We're going to an event over in the Student Center in a bit, and this weekend we might head up to North Rec and take the kayaks out.
And making time to study too, right?
Of course. My math course is a little tough, but I think I'll be okay if I put the work in. There's a lot of places to get help, too, if I need it. How are things at home?
Good. Your sister's keeping us busy. She has a game tomorrow, and she was invited to the dance after the football game on Saturday, so we're going shopping. Grandma and Grandpa send their love and said to call them when you can.
I'll call them this weekend. I miss y'all.
We miss you, too. A lot. But I'm so glad to hear things are going well. It sounds like you're having a great time.
I am. I really am glad I decided to come here. Oh, my friend Missy is here. We're going to head to the Student Center now. I'll talk to you soon. Love you.
Love you more.
I'm going to just let that resonate just 1 second. Love you more. Because that's what the communication with son, daughter, son, father, daughter, daughter, whatever. That's what it's all about. It's that communication that it's so important. Lauren said that the first two were a little bit dicey, and we understand that, but the majority of your communication are going to be those types of phone calls where they talk about the positive things that are going on a college campus. They're talking about their academics. They're talking about the things that they're getting involved in. That's what communication is about. In the third segment of the parent portal orientation, we're going to talk about communication patterns. So I'll wait till that one to go into it further. But the last thing I want to say, and I think it is really critical, is I love the fact that the parent brought in the sibling. That is so important to communicate those interactions with the sibling and the student at East Carolina University. So just maintain some believing that those two need to communicate. Make sure that's an important aspect of pretty much every phone call you get. And keep smiling, because we're here for you. This is what the resources are about. And those are the phone calls that you love to get.
So in this video, we did go over some heavy conversations and go over some heavy topics and the resources to help you communicate with your student and help them through these different situations. So if you have any questions, this is our contact information, reach out to us. And our third and final Navigating Uncharted Waters video, Pulling into Port, will be out in a couple of weeks.
And just remember, a ship is safe in harbor, but that's not what ships are for. Thank you.